Scene script. Have you ever wondered how the oldest living culture on Earth was formed in Australia? Take a moment and let your mind journey back, way back, to around 65,000 years ago. Imagine a time when the first human footsteps echoed across the vast, untouched wilderness of what we now call Australia. These were the Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, the original custodians of this great land. They journeyed from the edges of Asia, navigating the open seas, and arrived on the Australian continent, bringing with them rich cultures, diverse languages, and a deep spiritual connection to the land. They were not merely surviving in this harsh environment, but thriving, adapting, and shaping the landscape through their unique practices such as fire stick farming. At the heart of their culture was a spiritual belief system rooted in the Dreamtime. The Dreamtime is not just a collection of stories. It's a complex system of knowledge, faith, and practices that derive from stories of creation, deeply connecting the people to the land. Dreamtime stories explain the creation of the country's landscapes, from the towering mountains to the winding rivers, from the sprawling deserts to the lush rainforests. They tell tales of ancestral spirits who rose from the earth, creating the land, the animals, and the people, weaving a rich tapestry of creation that gives meaning to everything around us. In these stories, every rock, plant, animal, and indeed every aspect of the natural world holds a spiritual significance. This belief system instilled a profound respect for nature and the environment, leading to sustainable living practices that have stood the test of time. From the red dust of the outback to the crystal-clear waters of the Great Barrier Reef, every part of Australia echoes with the ancient songs of its first peoples. Their history, their cultures, their languages, and their spiritual beliefs are an integral part of Australia's identity, a legacy that continues to live and breathe in the land and its people. This ancient history sets the stage for the dramatic changes that would come with European exploration. How did Australia transform from an isolated continent to a land known to the world? This is a question that takes us back to the age of exploration, a time of curiosity, courage, and sea voyages. In the 17th century, the Dutch were the first Europeans to stumble upon this distant land. Dutch explorers like Willem Janszoon and Abel Tasman embarked on daring voyages, navigating treacherous seas to chart unknown territories. Their accounts of Australia piqued the interest of the Western world, but their interactions with the indigenous people were often marked by conflict, a recurring theme in Australia's history. The Dutch explorers' tales of Australia didn't go unnoticed. By the 18th century, Britain was keen to explore this new world. Enter James Cook, a skilled navigator and explorer. In 1770, Cook's ship, the Endeavour, landed on Australia's eastern coast. He claimed the land for Britain, naming it New South Wales. This act marked a pivotal moment in Australia's history, as it laid the groundwork for British colonization. However, this era of exploration wasn't just about discovering new lands. It was a time of cultural collision. The indigenous people who had lived in harmony with the land for tens of thousands of years suddenly found their world disrupted. They were exposed to foreign diseases, their lands were seized, and their way of life was threatened. This starkly contrasts the explorer's perspective of discovery and opportunity. The age of exploration was a period of paradoxes. It opened the door to new possibilities, introducing Australia to the world and paving the way for modern Australia. Yet, it also set the stage for conflict and upheaval, as the indigenous people's rights were overlooked in the quest for discovery. So, how did Australia transform from an isolated continent to a land known to the world? It was through the courage and curiosity of explorers, the clash of cultures, and the indomitable spirit of its indigenous people. The age of exploration marked the beginning of a new chapter in Australia's history, one filled with both opportunity and conflict. Can you imagine a land initially used as a penal colony turning into a land of gold and opportunities? In the late 18th century, Britain had a problem. Its prisons were overflowing, and the American colonies were no longer accepting its convicts. The solution was found in a far-off land, Australia. With the arrival of the First Fleet in 1788, the British began to use Australia as a penal colony. This was the genesis of the Convict era. The First Fleet, comprised of 11 ships carrying about 1,400 people, half of whom were convicts, made the perilous journey across the seas. These early settlers faced harsh conditions, but they laid the groundwork for what would become a thriving colony. Over the course of the Convict era, around 160,000 men and women were sent to Australia. They built roads, bridges, and buildings, contributing significantly to the country's infrastructure. Fast forward to the mid-19th century, and a shiny new prospect was about to change the course of Australian history: gold. The discovery of gold in New South Wales and Victoria sparked a rush of hopeful diggers from around the world. This was Australia's gold rush, a period of rapid growth and prosperity. The gold rush brought an influx of immigrants, leading to a significant increase in Australia's population. New towns sprang up around the gold fields, and Melbourne and Sydney grew into major cities. The newfound wealth from gold mining funded schools, churches, and libraries, fostering the growth of a civic culture. The gold rush also marked the beginning of Australia's economic development. It boosted the economy by generating wealth from gold exports and promoting industries such as banking, transportation, and retail. It even led to political changes, as the colonial governments gained more autonomy and started to introduce democratic reforms. These events, though tumultuous, laid the foundation for Australia as we know it today. The Convict era and the gold rush were pivotal chapters in Australia's history, transforming a penal colony into a land of golden opportunities. They shaped the country's society, economy, and political landscape, paving the way for the vibrant and diverse nation we see today. What does it take for a group of colonies to unite and form a nation? When the clock struck midnight on the first day of the 20th century, Australia stood on the precipice of a new era. The separate colonies, each with their individual identities and governance, chose unity, birthing the Federation of Australia in 1901. This was no small feat. It took a decade of debates, conventions, and referendums to bring about the consensus needed to create this new political entity. The Federation, however, was more than a political union. It was the birth of a collective Australian identity, a national consciousness that would be further forged in the fires of global conflict. As the world was plunged into the First World War, Australia, as part of the British Empire, answered the call to arms. Over 400,000 Australians enlisted, a significant number for a nation of fewer than 5 million. The bravery and camaraderie of Australian soldiers on battlefields like Gallipoli and the Western Front became the stuff of legend, shaping the nation's identity with the enduring spirit of the Anzac. Just 2 decades later, the world was at war again. Australia's role in the Second World War was pivotal, particularly in the Pacific theater. The country faced direct threats, and once again, Australians responded with courage and resilience. The war also led to a shift in Australia's international relations. The nation began to look beyond its traditional ties with Britain, forging a new alliance with the United States, a relationship that continues to be a cornerstone of Australia's foreign policy. In the aftermath of the wars, Australia emerged with a strengthened sense of identity and purpose. The nation had proven its mettle on the global stage and was ready to carve out its destiny. These critical moments in history have shaped Australia's political landscape and its place in the world. The Federation and the World Wars were more than historical events. They were crucibles that created the Australia we know today. They shaped a nation that's resilient, proud, and eager to engage with the rest of the world. How has Australia evolved in the modern era? Let's dive into the story of Australia's metamorphosis in the post-World War period, a time of exponential growth and tremendous change. It was the aftermath of the wars that brought about a significant immigration boom. People from all corners of the globe, each with their unique cultures and traditions, started to call Australia home. This influx led to an incredible fusion of cultures, turning Australia into the vibrant multicultural hub it is today. The mid-20th century also marked a pivotal time for the indigenous rights movement. The Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples, the original custodians of this land, began to reclaim their voice and fight for their rights. This struggle brought about landmark changes like the 1967 referendum, which finally recognized them as full citizens, counting them in the national census. It was a crucial step towards equality, but the journey didn't stop there, and it continues even today. In the global community, Australia has emerged as a significant player in the 20th and 21st centuries. It's not just about the land down under, with its unique wildlife, or the iconic Sydney Opera House anymore. Australia's role has expanded beyond its borders, actively participating in global affairs, from peacekeeping missions to climate change initiatives. Australia today is a testament to its diverse cultural tapestry. The vibrant multiculturalism is evident in every facet of Australian life, from its cuisine to its arts, from its language to its sports. The nation's commitment to human rights, equality, and fair go is a beacon that shines brightly, guiding its path into the future. From an ancient land to a modern nation, Australia's history is a rich tapestry of cultures, challenges, and triumphs. This journey from a distant, mysterious continent to a dynamic, multicultural society is a story of resilience, acceptance, and constant evolution. And that is the story of modern Australia.